Welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the September update. We do this every other month of the best 6-star champions, or it could be 5-star too. Keep that in mind as some of you come through this game, to rank up and ascend, right? And this is going to be slightly different than just your best champions overall, which is the monthly tier list we do every single month and have been doing, as you can see, for well over 4 years now, right? Like, you want to keep this in mind because as you're going through the game, no matter where you're at, because even though the account is sure as mine, I'm ranking up champions. I am ranking up 6 stars. I am ascending them. They were making my Battlegrounds deck. I'm taking them to war. They're still very, very good. There's a variety of reasons why you might do that. And what we're going to do today is, yes, this tier list will be linked in the description. You can open it up, take a look at for yourself. Make sure you make a copy, though, if you want to manipulate and change it around. But I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about the champions that I think are the absolute best to rank up and ascend as you're going through. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, when you get to the legend, you'll see that the ones with the diamond are essentially the ones we are specifically calling out. And if you're like, well, I already have those, or I don't have a need for those, what you can also do is look for the star emoji and the rocket ship. The star emoji means like the awakened ability was taken into consideration to get this ranking, okay? We do our tier list a little bit differently. That's part of why it is so amazing, right? It has input from all these people, and then the spreadsheet wizards put it together for us, right? And then the rocket ship is that they will benefit or see a nice benefit from an extra high sig level. Even though some champions are available 7 stars, there are other champions. A perfect example of this would be like Kushala, where she does get a very nice benefit, makes her more easy to play. And there also are nodes and fights that you can now take that you otherwise couldn't with her being awakened. But I wouldn't consider her to be one of the best Ascension candidates because she's available as a 7-star, okay? So it's going to be a little account specific. You're going to have to kind of figure that out for yourself. You can also ask them the questions. I like to read through them and answer them when I can. All right, so the first one we'll talk about quickly is Dr. Doom. Again, he's one of those ones that when 7-stars first came in, I'm like, he's never coming out as a 7-star. Meant that a bit more figuratively than literally. I still think it's a very long time before we see a Doom. Then Tigra. Exact same scenario. In fact, she's starting to, in very high tier Battlegrounds, have a little bit more trouble punching up, like taking like a serpent or something like that. Phenomenal candidate to ascend there. Moving into the scorching tier, Absorbing Man, right? Absorbing Man's a champion that I've said that when they come out as a 7-star, I think they're just going to hop right back into the tier above all tier for us. It's just he's having a little more trouble punching up, and that's fine. It feels like kind of what was intended there. Moving on to the super hot tier, they like, yes, if you want to rank them up, think of it this way. If you asked me, which is the most common question a YouTuber, MCoC YouTuber gets asked, is should I rank up this champion? And you're like, should I ascend Black Widow, Clairvoyant, and Rintra? I'd be like, yes. That is a phenomenal idea. They both have some things that make them incredibly unique in their class. So despite not being like as OP as Doom, there's this one ability that makes them, I think, problematic for Kabam to bring them out to 7 stars. For Black Widow Clairvoyant is that buff immunity, that debuff that she places on. Like, just no one's immune to that, right? So it's a phenomenally powerful thing. I'm curious if we do see her as a 7-star and how long it takes if we ever do. I would be so happy to get her as a 7. And then the other was Rintra, right? With that huge, I think it's like 300% neutralize or whatever it is, particularly against Cosmic Champions. You can see why that would be incredibly strong and why it take a while. Remember though, too, huge, massive health pool. I play mainly in the Mysterium level 1 through 3 right now. I think I'm in 2. And it is not unusual to see rank 5 ascended Rintras causing problems in Battlegrounds deck, primarily on defense. And then the last one in the hot tier here for Mystics specifically is Mephisto. If you're a Battlegrounds player, if you're enjoying Battlegrounds and you've got a Mephisto, you might want to consider taking him up as high as you possibly can and ascending, because he is still a problematic defender. Yeah, there's options for him. I'm not saying there's not, but if you're looking to fill out your Battlegrounds deck and you've already got him sitting there and you've got some Ascension dust sitting around, he might be worth it. He might be worth it for Battlegrounds. All right, let's move on to Mutant. Moving on to Mutant in the tier above all is Kitty Pryde, right? Especially if you get those synergies, but even alone, she's still fantastic. This is similar to Tigra, where in Battlegrounds and other content, she's having a little more trouble punching up. She's taking a little more abuse along the way, a little more chip damage, those sorts of things, but she can still get a ton done. We don't see as much of her anymore, but she's still phenomenal, fantastic champion. Moving on, I do have the diamond next to Archangel. I think we all know, right? You don't need me to talk you through Archangel, but the one I want to mention is Mr. Sinister. Now, I know that Mr. Sinister is coming as a 7-star, but the best I can tell, not everyone's going to get him. And you might want him awakened. And you might want him at high sig. And the only way to do that, the best I can tell, is to have spent and gotten the Awakening Gem on this most recent event. So if you're being efficient with your rank up resources, you may want to ascend your 6-star. This is going to be very much up to you. I intentionally did not do that because I was hoping for a 7-star to come. It's come. I'm pretty sure that's who I'm going to awaken and put all my Saga Stones in. And that's how good I think Mr. Sinister is. That's how much problems I think he can cause in a Battlegrounds deck. I look forward to questing with him in War and those sorts of things. But I did want to specifically call him out because I know he's coming available. And I think you can get him without spending if you're like constantly logging on, you're doing all the things that are asked. It looks like that is going to be possible if I understood it correctly, but that's a lot of ifs, and that's still resources that you could use to rank up someone else, where if you have a 6-star and you really enjoy using them, that signature ability, getting to the Sig 200, especially as you want to use them on, I think it's attack and then on questing and in war, could be very helpful to you. So I wanted to specifically call out Sinister on that one, despite being a champion that is going to be available as a 7-star. And we know that as of this recording. Moving on to the next one will be Iceman. I've ascended mine, been extremely happy. I've got a ton of use out of him. Toad is another one, especially because the signature ability is very helpful to what Toad is wanting to do. Neither of them are available as 7-stars. Both of them are wanting that Sig for a lot of your uses. So even if they came out, like let's say before I update this again, which would be shocking, but when I update this again in 2 months, the chances of you pulling them twice in that time and getting them to high Sig and taking them to rank 3 before is very, very slim, and your 6-star rank 5 ascended is probably going to produce significantly better results than this like hypothetical scenario that I just literally came up with. Then the last one in the mutant class is going to be Namor in the hot tier. You want the Sig, you want the Sig 200, and yes, there are very good players who have taken their 7-star, put their 6 stones into them. They're excellent players. I think they're having a bit of fun. Namor can do cool things, but if I'm giving advice to my viewers, unless you just love Namor, go with the 6-star. You're spending incredibly precious, rare 7-star resources on sigging him up, awakening him, ranking him up. You will be much better off for your account in the vast majority. I struggle to think of scenarios where you would be better off putting all those resources into 7-star Namor over the next 2 months than you would into your 6-star. Just think that one through, and I think you'll see you there. All right, let's move on to science. In science, we talked about this. We talk about this as much as we can. We do the tier list and the 7-stars. Is science is a very unique class in that a lot of their most powerful champions are actually available as 7-stars. I think that's part of why science feels so dominant right now. The only one that's not in the available as a 7-star, it's in the tier above all, is Scorpion, particularly if you have the Venom synergy. A lot of 7-star Venoms running around out there. So it's not like you're paying a price to bring Scorpion. He's also great without the synergy. He's struggling to punch up in higher tier battlegrounds like he once did, but that's fine. Still a fantastic champion. Still has those shifting immunities that you can choose. Still has the different damaging resources that you can totally choose. He doesn't really need the high Sig, but you want him awakened for some battlegrounds uses and things like that. Fantastic, fantastic champion. One of my personal favorites for Ascension. Like, I personally ascended him quite a long time ago, got phenomenal results out of him. Very, very happy I did. I've had no, regrets, I believe is the word I'm searching for. Next, moving on is Human Torch. Now, I never did ascend my Human Torch. It was kind of like a stubborn thing I did where I put a lot of my resources into my 7-stars. So I didn't rank 5 a lot of 6-stars. I didn't ascend very many 6-stars. And then when I did, it was very specifically for a very particular use. Human Torch was one I just never did. He's great. He's phenomenal. I think he's a champion that he is on that list of champions I'd be most shocked we see as a 7-star. I truly mean that. And it's similar to what I said about Clairvoyant, in that he has that one particular ability. It's that pre-fight, and that you can just choose it whenever you want, and what that can do for him in battlegrounds when he's not flimsy, right? If he was to come out as a 7-star, he'd have the 7-star stats, 7-star challenger rating, and all those things, and he would go back to being extremely dominant in that mode, as well as all the great questing and things like that. So I think if you want to get a little time out of your Human Torch, he's one of the best options as far as that's concerned, despite me not having done it. Moving on is Red Guardian. If you're familiar with my channel, you know how much I love Red Guardian. If you're not familiar with my channel, 1, welcome. 2, go check out the playlist on Red Guardian. You'll see just ridiculous, ridiculous stuff. He's phenomenal. He's amazing. I hope we get him as a 7-star soon. He does kind of want high Sig, though. Not as much as he once did, but that's another champion where I think even if I pull him, I'm going to do some serious testing to see if a 7-star rank 2 or 7-star rank 3 at a low Sig can pull off results anywhere close to what the 6-star rank 5 is before I go and start ranking up a 7-star. So in that scenario, moving on to super hot, we have Mr. Fantastic. I debated actually removing the emoji from him, but he's got all those really great pre-fights. He's a phenomenal team player as far as like synergies and those sorts of things. And then his pre-fights. Additionally, being able to take fights with him helps tremendously along the way. So I think if you're using him for those things, despite there being a lot of science champions who control power rate and combat power and these various things like he does, I do think he's still a very good candidate. Just make sure that you really need what he does before you go ahead and do that. And Cassie Lang, I'm still staying stubborn. I still have very high ratings on Cassie. I like her loop. I think she's incredibly well made. I think she's got a great champion budget. All the things that I look for, the immunities, she's phenomenal. The thing that players keep telling me, because I don't use my Cassie very much at all anymore, the thing that players keep telling me, and very reputable players, very smart players, is that the AI just isn't attacking into her, and you do need that to happen. So it doesn't really matter how powerful she is, how great she looks on paper, how good her loop is. If the AI just isn't playing along, and it can ruin all of that, and it can create a very frustrating experience. So I have that on there because she's not available as a 7-star. I do want to call that out. I'm not in any rush to ascend mine, mainly because of all the more passive AI when she shrinks down. You need that to happen. You need the AI to attack in. It just completely can make her a very frustrating experience. So I respect that. Quake, I think they've even said we're not going to see a Quake. So if you're in that 5-star range and 6-star and you're doing some questing and you want to learn how to play Quake, she's phenomenal. It's boring as hell. I never learned. Moving on, we're going to get to She-Hulk. Now we have the Deathless She-Hulk coming out. We've seen, though, they've updated kit, so I don't expect it to be like a mirror version just with the new skin. I expect regular 6-star She-Hulk to still be quite powerful. She has got the slow and those sorts of things. She's a fantastic champion, just has trouble punching up against the 7-stars. It's the only reason why she's fallen down. If she came out as a 7-star, I'm quite positive that she would be moved into the super hot tier, so that's something for you to consider there. And then Jessica Jones. The only reason she's as far down this list as she is because a lot of her prominence comes from Battlegrounds. That's why we've got that shield, right? Now, she can do things, and I know it's like Joey has done great things, and if you synergize her up and as you go along on a quest, she can actually become very powerful. Remember, we only rank the champions that are worth potentially your resources. We don't rank everyone because they take up space, they make it more confusing. This way we can talk about the champions that actually matter, and she is one. I actually almost ascended my Jessica Jones in the last couple of weeks with some recent dust and some saga gems. Decided not to just yet because in Battlegrounds, people do have answers, at least again, in the tiers that I'm playing in, there are frequently answers, and she's not as much of a problem unless a meta really accentuates her like we had, I think it was just last Battleground season. That being said, she's usually a champion that's available for money, and unless you're looking to go heavy on deals and you think she's coming out in a deal soon, this is your only chance to really get her. So I think that's, again, a champion I want to call out. Very powerful in Battlegrounds, very powerful defender. Might be someone for you to consider based on how you're playing the game. All right, let's move on to tech. In the tech class at the top tier above all, we've got Future Ant-Man. He's so good that in Mysterium 1 and higher, he's still in decks. He's still in decks. I just literally put him in my deck today. I face him all the time, even with some of my best champions that aren't like Hulkling, like a Titania. He can still slow her down a little bit. Phenomenal champion, incredibly well designed. I don't think he's overpowered. I don't think he's got an ability like buff immunity or Human Torch's pre-fight. I think we will eventually see him as a 7-star. I think it's just a matter of time. I hope it's soon. But in the meantime, rank him up. His SIG is actually really, really helpful too, so he's a great Ascension candidate. Move on to Ghost. The way she operates, I can see why it's taken so long. I think the game's also moved along enough that we might see one, I'd say, in the next 6 months or so. That being said, if you enjoy her, you run recoil, and she's fantastic. I just played her so much, even as a 5-star, but she's a great champion, very worthy of your Ascension. And the higher the SIG, the better. It really helps you gain the power and those sorts of things. Moving on to Spider-Man Stark. I have completely shifted. I love playing Masakre so much. If I ever did the CCP challenges, I was going to take Masakre. I've seen too much out of Spider-Man. I've seen too much, particularly in the high battlegrounds, which is what I enjoy playing. He's just too darn good. He really is. And with a nerf, a rebounds down, whatever term you want to use, who cares? We're all talking about the same thing, to Bullseye. Spider-Man Stark now has another prominent meta defender that he can take. If you enjoy Battlegrounds, I think Ascend your Spider-Man Stark. I have considered it because I don't know if I'm ever going to do those CCB challenges, but Spider-Man Stark has also been showing up in those like for sale crystals and things like that from time to time. So he's not someone I'm rushing to because I feel like I'm hoping I pull him in the not too distant future. Moving on to Super Hot. Now we've now got Ultron. Now Ultron's in this last deal. And quite a few players have gotten him, some really good players. They've put their Sig Stones in. They've done the smart thing. It took him to rank 3, and he's dominating stuff. In the next general monthly tier list, so the tier list for September, which will be coming out in a few weeks, he's going to get promoted. I've been talking about this. There was no part of me that thought we would see him in a deal. I was saying he was the most rare 7-star in the game because he's only available through that raid crystal. He still might be the most rare 7-star in the game. He's phenomenal, especially if you can get the Sig on him, which is why I think he's still a great Ascension candidate, because he's still the most rare 7-star in the game. And he really, getting that Sig, I think it's Incinerate and Shock, allows him just to take fights that he otherwise could not. That's a really big deal. Vision. Vision is one of the best Ascension candidates. So it's like default, not knowing how you're playing, what's going on, those sorts of things. If you're playing super high tier Battlegrounds, she might not produce the best result, and the reason is because she has a very clearly defined loop and ceiling of damage. She was clearly I think the term would be titrated or measured for what she was very specifically supposed to do, and that was to get through a Battlegrounds fight or war fight in one loop. The problem is, as 7-star rank 3 defenders are becoming more prominent, she's struggling to do that. The good side is, and all of you Viv fans like to point it out, is like, well, you can just go along or go around, and she's phenomenal, she's fantastic, and she definitely is. Which is why I think she's one of the best Ascension candidates. Because even if she came out as a 7-star, like I've said about a lot of other champions, the chances of you pulling her a second time, getting a ton of rank up resources into her, including a high signature ability, are very, very slim in anywhere near future. If you like Viv, ascend her, rank her up and ascend her. All right, we're gonna get to our final class in skill. Okay, skill is almost the exact opposite of science in this regard, in that all of their top tier champions are not available as 7-stars. And, I covered the whole nerf thing with Kingpin. Like, it just all could have been avoided. We're not going to redo that video. I still think he's phenomenal. I do not think we're going to move him down. I think he's still an amazing champion. As much as I hope that all happens, so that he'd be coming out as a 7-star soon, I think he's still so good. Maybe in the next 6 months, which would be great. I'd be really happy to know that. I love Kingpin. He was I really ranked him up very early. In fact, I think I had made a bet and I just ranked him up. And then his buff came out. I was like, I think we have the new best skill champion, especially with his synergies, like Mr. Sinister, something like Mr. Synergy is what I almost said. He's fantastic. I hope he comes out as a 7-star. I don't know if I ever will ascend mine, mainly because I just don't have a use for him right now. He's struggling to punch up as well in some of the Battleground stuff. So there's other champions I'd rather use, but he's a phenomenal, fantastic champion. I don't know if anyone deals with debuffs better than him. Okay, I'm not saying people don't do it as well as him. I know how the internet likes to interpret things. I'm just saying I don't know if anyone deals with debuffs better than he does. Nick Fury, the whole second life, that's a big part of what he does. So again, even if he came out as a 7-star, getting him awakened, that whole thing, the nonsense by now. Kate Bishop, do I need to say more? Especially if you have Necropolis still to do. What are you doing? Rank up your Kate Bishop, get her to 6200, ascend her, go into Necropolis, and profit. Moving on to Scorching Valkyrie, right? I don't think anyone's better at getting around to fight without actually hitting the champion. Maybe 7-star rank 3 werewolves, as I say it. I'm like, wait a minute, there is werewolf, but that's a totally different class. She's fantastic. Definitely rank her up. Tons and tons of uses still available to her. Spider-Man Stealth can do tremendous damage, right? He's got the slow, and also I believe his slow counters miss. Incredibly rare versatility there to go along with tremendous damage. Getting him ranked up and ascended makes a lot of sense to me. I actually ascended my Hit Monkey recently. He is a better champion than I realized. We moved him up 1 tier. If he came out as a 7-star, I don't know. I'd want to test it. He would definitely move up in this tier, potentially over to Scorching. That being said, you like running recoil and you like doing massive damage, and he can turn things off. I did the video on him. Make sure you check it out. I think he's a phenomenal Ascension candidate. And then 2 last ones to talk about. They're both unique, and I think that's why they have the emoji, and we're going to mention Agent Venom. He does require 2 synergies, right? I think it's Scorpion and Kraven. Kraven's not very good, honestly. Scorpion is phenomenal, and if you run those synergies, it can make Agent Venom one of the most overpowered champions in the game. I'm almost positive he will help people clear content in Act 6 and Act 7, probably Act 8. 9 just came out, so we'll see. But the damage is that amazing, ridiculous, and eye-popping, okay? So if you're looking to have some fun, if you've got the rest of your stuff sorted, you're not interested in a Battlegrounds champion, because he needs those synergies to do these things, he could be great. And then the last one I want to call out is Aegon. And I know some of you, because I get questions like this sometimes, so I do want to answer it. How can Aegon be one of the best for Ascension and still be in the mild tier? And then what I want to explain is he's really only good in today's game in long form content. Okay, you're not using him in Battlegrounds. I haven't seen Aegon used in competitive war in forever. There was a time where that would happen. In questing, like we just had Crucible, where you change out the champion every fight. It's just, I'm struggling to think of a non-Necropolis option that's come out recently that he's been good for. However, I don't know if I had more fun. Actually, Wong and Aegon were my most fun use in Necropolis. I did my final 3 pass purely as Aegon pass. He was fantastic. He was phenomenal. He was efficient, time-wise and units-wise. He literally was built for this. He was built for long form. If you haven't done Necropolis yet, and you've got a 6-star Aegon, I think it is highly worth your time. Watch some videos, learn how to play him, get your best out of him, rank him up, ascend him, go into Necropolis, learn those fights, and then come out, because those are still some of the best rewards in the game, particularly for content. And then you're going to be able to put all those resources into the 7 stars that you've now gotten. That's it. That's the September update for the best 6 and 5 stars to rank and ascend. We'll continue to do this every other month. It feels like a good cadence. You all and folks on my Discord server asked for this. They asked for that cadence. And it's been working out really, really well. I did do the best 7 stars to rank. That's live on my channel. You can check that out. And then in about a week, I will do the best champions to awaken and ascend. And that will be including 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars, just the whole thing. As usual, let me know what you think we got right, what you feel we got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.